Welcome back to the Julius stage. We now have 3 sessions in the lead up to lunch. The first session is a really exciting, interesting session entitled What Do Clients Really Want? So we're going to have a quick presentation to kick off, and then there'll be a panel headed by Ben Jankowski of MasterCard. But first up, Matt Green from the World Federation of Advertisers. Matt started his career at various media auditors and media agencies in London, but for the last 3 years has been with the World Federation of Advertisers, whose purpose is to advise and protect advertisers. Matt, over to you.
Afternoon. Thank you for the introduction, Chris. So I'm Matt. I'm from WFA, World Federation of Advertisers, and I'm basically the warm-up act before the panel, albeit not a particularly amusing one, I'm disappointed to say, but hopefully I can share something of interest with you before we bring the panel on. So we ran a survey on media transformation, or sort of what clients really think, if you like, because it was sort of only really completed by clients, so it's sort of what clients think. And about 50 of our members completed this, and for those that don't know, we work with 80 brands in total, these guys here, and yeah, about 50 completed this survey. And my role within this organisation is to advise, to provide insight and support to global marketers. And the way we do this in various different ways. One of them is through client-only get-togethers, a little bit like this one, where we bring a bunch of clients in a room and we talk about some topical stuff. This is in the nice Lego offices in London, the brand new, shiny offices. And we've been talking about digital transformation for a while now, a couple of years now, I suppose. And there are probably as many definitions of digital transformation as there are post-it notes to write on. We've been working from this one. It's from Altimeter. I'll let you read it. It's perhaps not the most elegant definition, but I think it kind of works, right? It says what digital transformation is all about. So we've been talking about in our media forum, which is a collection of global media directors from the client side. We had one yesterday in the hotel, actually. We've been talking about how this stuff might apply to people in media roles, in client-side media roles. And I think that programmatic and technology is at the heart of this, but there are other components as well, of course, right? There's people and culture. There's partners and agencies, there's measurement and metrics, and there's the digital ecosystem at large itself and obtaining visibility into that. So what I'm going to do is just quickly share a couple of points from this survey, a couple of outtakes, which will hopefully contextualize the panel. So first of all, we found that, so looking at the internal first of all, we found that 74% of clients disagree that the advertisers have a well-informed understanding of the technology landscape. Okay, so it's like a sort of an education issue here, an education and understanding issue. And I think, that's an excusable one because it's a very complex landscape, isn't it? But nonetheless, we have a sort of a gap here in education. But it's not all about technology, is it? Anyway, it's also about people and it's about skill. But here's another issue, because 60% of respondents say that transformation is contingent on finding the right talent in the right place, and 60% say no. We have an issue with this. And I've heard this a lot in various sort of client sessions around the world. So getting the right people in the right places, that is a continuing challenge for media people. So now looking externally, looking at the ecosystem. So 9 in 10 respondents said that ad fraud is perpetuated by the structure and systems in place in the digital media ecosystem. And I don't think many people would really disagree with that, to be honest with you. We heard Dominic Proctor saying a similar sort of thing earlier on. There are some fundamental sort of issues with the ecosystem. And the same amount of respondents say that their organizations have concerns about the lack of transparency and fraud in digital media. So we have this ongoing sort of issue about programmatic and about the ecosystem, about some fundamental vulnerabilities that are inherent within the ecosystem. And I don't want to be a doomsayer, but I do think that the future doesn't look as bright as it might do unless we can resolve some of these intractable issues. So moving on, looking at partners, looking at agencies, and it's really good to see that 100% of respondents agree that external partnerships improve our ability to navigate the ecosystem. So that's good news. However, 75% disagree that agencies have a well-informed understanding and an impartial understanding of technology. So, there remains a bit of a trust issue here, and I think Dominic alluded to that as well. But this trust issue is still here, and I think that's something we need to resolve. It's something for the good of clients and for good of agencies. It's something that we need to resolve to broaden our horizons and you know, lay the territory for a proper media transformation, if you will. But WFA isn't about agency bashing at all. That's absolutely not our stance. So, you know, I was looking for some sort of insights from this which were sort of quite positive about the agency community. And we asked, well, what level of agency service will you require in 5 years? Is this going to go up? Is it going to go down? And I'm pleased to say that most people, about two-fifths, say that this is going to increase, right? We're going to need more agency support in the next 5 years. I mean, it's quite close. There's about a third that say less, but the balance is towards more. So that's good news, right? But actually, one of my respondents said that actually you got your question wrong. It's not about the level of service, it's about the kind of service, and this is where the most dramatic change will happen. Because, you know, agencies, of course, as you all know, are going through their own transformation, and there's more and more and more channels being added on. And in response to client demand, there's more things that agencies are doing. So there's a lot of change. It's very dynamic, it's very exciting. And I think that the best thing now is for me to bring the panel up, who these guys can discuss this to much better extent than I can. So please meet your panel. First of all, we have Ben Jankowski. Ben is the Group Head for Global Media at MasterCard, based out of New York. He's also the chair of our WFA Media Forum, and in that capacity, he's going to be moderating this session today. Ben. Secondly, we have Fiona Lam. Fiona is originally from China and Hong Kong. She's got extensive experience on the agency side. Now she's working for Volvo as Global Media Director based out of Sweden. Fiona. And next up we have Sital Banerjee. Sital has worked and lived in India and the Middle East. He's now based in Amsterdam, where he works for Philips as the Global Media Director. Sital. And last but certainly not least, Mark Butterfield. He's a Brit with significant international media experience, including working for the Saudi royal family. Mark Butterfield, Global Media Director for Boehringer-Ingelheim.
Great, thanks, Matt. One of the things that Matt just showed, you know, a bunch of slides of research, and the WFA does a lot of studies. One of the things that we tried to do, to be really honest and not to call anybody out, was we tried to get input from, when we do these surveys, we tried to get input from agencies, and to be really honest, the response wasn't enough to warrant, you know, comparing the information. So we asked the same exact questions, didn't get a lot of response. So we have 22 minutes and 48 seconds. I promise to be on time. And one of the things I'm gonna open up more time for questions, because I kind of want the agencies to sort of, you know, weigh in. We want some interaction, because I think as the WFA, we know it's not a one-way street. We really want to try to get some, you know, some input from, you know, from the agency community as well. So I will leave time for questions. So save up your really hard questions, agency guys who all love us. First question, we showed the slide that said 90% of clients had concerns about transparency. 90% had concerns about viewability. Dominic this morning says we're making progress in terms on those fronts. First question, how do you talk about transformation when we've got this marketplace, when we've got the, you know, the vulnerability of the ecosystem that we work in today? Ladies first.
Ladies first?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, the response tells us that there's 90% of people who see this as an issue. Well, we at Volvo, like we're up there in Scandinavia. I think we are like one of the very special species that still trust people quite a lot. We assume people are honest, and we assume people are giving us the best, and assume people, especially our agency partner, that they are there for us too. They're giving us whatever is the best out there that they believe that's best for our business. It's very disappointing for us to find out as the more we engage with the rest of the world. We are out of Sweden, out of Scandinavia, to find out the rest of the world, the cruelty out there. It's not so easy. It's not so simple. It's not so straightforward. And that struck us quite severely internally. That it was shocking at the beginning to find out. That was about somewhere last year. And we took action and really want to rectify them. In the process of which we continue to trust the agency. We continue to believe that they understand our business. There's a lot of changes going on, even in the client business. So I would say, well, with all the changes that we're going through from the client side, for those of you who's interested in traditional automobile or in automobile industry, and all this like Google car, Baidu car, whatever cars, it's all coming up, autonomous drive and everything. We're going through so much changes in our industry that we have, my biggest issue is I feel the agency is not catching up with what we're facing in our industry itself. And they're coming back with, it's not like they're not coming back with digital recommendations. It's not like they're not coming back with fluffy or interesting or stuff that we've never heard of, stuff that we've never understood that makes the agency look really smart, because like every single time they come in and they have something that we don't really know, we don't really understand, it overwhelms, and it takes time for us to really understand. And it was, do they really understand the reality of our business, and that do they really have the consumer insights into the future? It's changed, which is changing so fast. Just look at the Chinese media world. WeChat doesn't exist 5 years ago. WeChat, how many users do they have today? And we're talking about the next WeChat, for example. The things are changing so fast, and we have no time to really talk about firing agencies and reviewing the agencies and give them a new lineup of agencies, and we do a new structure. It's just there's just no time for all this stuff, and that's the biggest issue that we have. Okay. Beyond trust and beyond, and we talk about honesty and all that. I can't say that we're in a very tough business situation, where the company is still making money, we're still earning a good salary, bonuses, etc. But what about next year? What about the year after? And that's the key issue.
Okay, Sital?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you asked. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. You asked about transformation in this sort of situation that we are in. I believe transformation needs to continue to happen. It's not either or. You need to transform while we transact, because the times are such that you can't do one and not the other. Now, while we transform as organizations, at the same time continuing to transact in terms of doing business, transparency is key. But my take on transparency is that transparency is only a means to an end, and that end is to drive better business results. And when that's the case, then you're looking at external partners to really have the trusted relationship that we have believed in getting them on board first of all anyways, that they would be able to deliver. In the past few years, we have been talking a lot about transparency, and we need to get more transparent, etc. For quite a while, we almost found that people were, burying their heads in the sand and saying everything is fine. But it's come to a point now that we really need to see that transparency coming through very clearly, the trust wherever it's a deficit now being rebuilt, and then we move on together in the spirit of partnership. And work towards delivering business results. Okay. And that to me is absolutely key from an advertiser point of view.
Yeah. Mark?
I think every brand has a destination. I mean, we have clear ideas of where we want to take a brand, what the business results have to be. We build brand journeys, we have consumer journeys, we have a clear understanding where it's going to be. I think the key issue is the vehicle that takes us on that journey. And what really concerns me is we're being given and offered broken vehicles. So we have a situation where we know where we're going, we know how we're going to get there. The problem is getting there. And I think it's really a duty of our business partners to give us the clarity of what that vehicle is. It's trustworthy. Nobody goes to a garage and buys a car with two wheels. And I think at the moment we've got, long debates about visibility, transparency, fraud, et cetera, et cetera. I think it really is time for the industry to sort of really man up and say, right, we've had enough of this. This has been going on for years and years and years, or some years. And it's now turned around and say, well, quite simply, I believe in America, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but I believe there is now a situation where unless it's 100%, we're not going to pay for it. I think we need to take that global, where us as clients need to say, quite simply, if you're offering us something that is not transparent, is not going to deliver what we need on the journey, we're not going to use it. At that point, you'll find a lot of this stuff drying up and disappearing, and you'll get some consolidation, some action taking place. But, I've been sitting on these panels for God knows how long, and it's now really what time where we need to, with our agency partners, say, enough. Let's close this down. Let's stop having these conversations, and let's say, sorry, unless it gets the stamp of approval from whatever country association it may be, they're off the books.
Okay. So would it be...
But to add to that one, Ben, the other side of the story is we as advertisers also should be open to have clear and very, very transparent discussions on remuneration. If we should be open to challenge the current remuneration systems that we have in place and be open to invite better ideas, because it's ultimately business for agencies, for publishers as well. So I think we should also make that step forward from our side.
That's fair. Yeah. So would it be, I had a great ex-colleague when I was an agency person who said, it's really hard to think long-term when your head's on fire. Have we been preoccupied with fraud, viewability, all that stuff? It's prohibited us to think about the future, to think about true transformation? How do you juggle the balance between, I got to do the day-to-day stuff, and today there's some serious day-to-day issues that we have to navigate, and we've just talked about them in really brief form. How do I juggle the balance between dealing with that, today's environment and all that stuff, our head being on fire, thinking about all these things, and thinking about the future? How do you juggle the balance? Mark, give you your first crack.
I think without a shadow of a doubt, digital is the future. We can't deny it. I think the key concerns I have is when you're sitting with senior marketeers, they are now asking some very serious questions. If I'm paying $1, do I get $1? $1's worth of media, less the fee. The key question then sits as, well, what value that dollar being spent and what return am I getting for it? And I think it's a real tripping point. It's slowing the process down. If we can clear the process up very quickly, this will just open the floodgates. It'll get rid of a lot of the rubbish that's in there and needs to be moved out. And we can really get on with saying, here is, in each country, here's some controlled mediums or people have agreed to the terms and conditions of what the association may be, and we can drive the process in digital forward far quicker. We are absolutely getting bogged down in measurability, transparency, fees, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's really to the detriment where, I think it was somebody from Flock said yesterday, we're expecting the media to be everything, and now we're digital Jedis and data scientists. Are we? No. None of us have, data science degrees. So the key thing is what we do need is those shortcuts without having to sort of wade through mires of problems. Because, quite frankly, the marketeer is interested in one thing, selling product. It's as simple as that.
Sital, how do you juggle the balance?
Yeah, how I personally juggle the balance. Because
Phillips,
as I mentioned, it is about transformation and transaction going together. Now, of course, within Philips, we have teams who are helping us through building the required infrastructure, especially in the digital area. But we would also expect that agency partners that we work with, for us, media planning, buying is sort of the hygiene factor now, right? You are looking at their support on many other areas and many new frontiers. And if you have the right agency partners working together with you, I believe it makes it easy. Because as you said rightly, our job is to sell more.
Absolutely.
And we are not the experts in so many different areas that we are supposed to juggle through today. I believe we need to have the right set of partners in helping us through that.
Fiona?
Yeah. Well, from our side, it was the key focus of the business continues to stay with the business itself, like selling more cars, helping the company go through the transformation and reaching the target audience and all that. But at the same time, on the other hand, we are governed by a corporate governance structure where we have the compliance compliance office after us every quarter, every 6 months. Because when you hold the media money, like everybody's after you, you're the first target. And then you have the internal audit, you have external audit, coming for sure twice a year. And you at least spend 20% of your time with those people. But then your boss and your management and your board of people, your board of directors, they all care about primarily still how you drive the business as opposed to fraud and invisibility and all those stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
So we think about the in-house versus continuing to outsource debate goes on all the time. Some marketers, P&G, Kimberly-Clark, some have moved some of their operations in-house. And Steve Golan, if anybody was in the other room, talked about it today in terms of their model today of it used to be agency-led, and now they're doing, I think he said, 25% of his business is directly with agencies today. How have you guys, as organizations, navigated between what you're continuing to outsource to your traditional agency partners versus what you've gone outside and found other partners and told your agency you're going to work with them versus what have you brought in-house? Sital, I'll let you start.
Yeah, well, again, look, every client will decide how they want to run this, right? Depending on what scale you have and what sort of resources you have in place. For us, we absolutely believe there's a fundamental role that agency partners have to play in the entire area of communications. Having said that, there are still certain things that you can start doing internally. For example, at Philips, we have started managing some of our paid social campaigns internally, build up teams internally who are really being able to optimize on the paid social front. We are looking at analytics to bring that inside. And there again, as I said, there is still a role that the agency will play because you still want them to have and present a strategy that's right across the consumer decision journey. But there would be elements depending on your resources.
How do you decide what pieces you're gonna start to pull in house when you're? And I'll ask you all the same question. How do you decide I'm going to pull analytics in and not and social in and paid social in and not something else?
Yeah, well, it depends on quite a few factors, and some of those might be whether we are working those sort of areas with other agency partners is slowing down the process or not. Is it getting you the optimization and the immediacy that you need in today's environment? Is it a hindrance there? There are cost considerations and building capabilities long-term within the company, depending on where the company vision is. Okay. So we look at these things, and we have started moving certain things in-house.
Perfect. Fiona, in-house?
Not so much, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still pretty much a traditional structure. And there's a lot of concerns from a company perspective where you bring a person in-house, things might change, there's like different new trends coming up in 1 or 2 years, and then you're going to think about a new position for this same person. It's like when you're employed and then you're going to give him a permanent position and all that. It's a lot of considerations. We still believe many of those expertise still sits with its external partners and agencies.
Okay. Mark?
As Dominic Proctor said this morning, what the agency world or agency might be in 5-7 years, I don't think it'll be what it is now. I think it'll evolve into possibly an a la carte process. I think it's about, as Sital said, it's economies of scale. For us, certainly, offline, no. It's the priority sits with the agency. It's their expertise, what they do for a living. I think there are options in digital if this mess doesn't get sorted out. That there could be situations like managed DSPs in-house and things like that. Not quite sure. I think you have to have quite a bit of cash to drive through if you're bringing your DSP in-house. And I can see the advantages of it. I think for most middle spending advertisers, it doesn't make a lot of sense because you need FTEs, continual updates and software. Yep. But I think there is a looking for more control on that process. So I think the digital bit may turn into a different ecosystem. I think traditional media will pretty much remain the same. But the agency world may evolve into something completely different.
So nothing today, but you can see a future.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that you said that the agencies can do to help the transformation, so that we could be better partners and think about the longer term future of engaging consumers, growing our business, and all that, what would it be?
As I mentioned, the first thing is the clarity of the vehicle. I need to clearly understand the vehicle, how much it's going to cost me to fuel the vehicle, and is it going to get me to my destination? I don't want to get there 3/4 of the way to the destination, find out it's broken down, but I've paid to get all the way to the destination. We know the route, we know where we're trying to get to. It's about that clarity of getting there, or the cost of getting there.
Okay. So you don't need their help in helping you chart the course. You just need to help,
No, we do. I think, I'm a great believer in comms planning. I'm a great believer in the thought processes that go in there because they've got some very clever people in that area. I think it's planning that process through with the marketeer, so there's clarity, and looking at the key touch points on that journey. But it's then, certainly in the digital area, those vehicles that are going to get you there, are they the right ones? Are they genuinely, rather than being driven for different purposes, are they the right ones that are going to get me where I need to get to? And have we gone through the considerations and properly funded it and driven the cost properly?
Okay. Fiona? one thing they can do?
Still consumer insights.
Okay.
Still, like, whether it's just with the insight department instead of a media department, I would say the way consumers consume media today and in the future, near future, I would say is still very, very key for us.
Okay.
Important.
Sital?
Yeah, well, it's about helping us engage with our consumers, the end consumers, with minimum wastage through the channel.
Yeah.
And more with the viewability discussion, etc., that's coming up, it looks like an advertiser is first spending money to reach your target audience, but at the same time has to again spend money to know whether we are really reaching them, how much are we reaching them with, when are we reaching them. So it's just added cost that's impacting the $1 that we spend to reach the consumer. And that's not, that's an area that I believe agencies need to really get smarter and help us. Because even to pick on the viewability discussion, I mean, on a traditional print ad, we don't pay if half of the ad is printed, right?
Yes.
We don't pay anything. But if 50% of the pixels are loaded, we are supposed to be paying for that on digital. I mean, that doesn't make sense from an advertiser point of view. Yeah. I mean, we put in so much of investments to create assets, and if those assets are either partially seen by the audience or not even seen, we are still expected to pay for that.
And I'm not trying to put words in your guys' mouths. Do the agencies need to be more aggressive about being advocates in the industry, especially in digital? Are they doing enough to help us fight all those battles that we're doing today?
They need to be more aggressive, especially with the media owners in digital. Far more aggressive.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. I did say there are exactly 4 minutes left. I promised to be on time. And also I said I wanted to get input because, again, we really did want, the survey originally was agencies and marketers, and we didn't get a lot of agency input. So we have 4 minutes left. Happy for questions. Anybody have any questions? Those that know me know I can talk all day long, so I have other questions, but rather hear yours. Any questions? I think I saw a hand.
All is clear.
Thank you, saving us.
Hi, my name's Aisha. I'm from Undertone. I'd just like to ask each of you individually, what is it that keeps you up at night?
What's that? I couldn't hear. Sorry.
Couldn't hear
What keeps you up at night?
What?
What keeps you up at night?
Value. I mean, it's about, as we all agree, it's about selling product. If we don't sell product, the media budget goes out the window. And, there is, huge amounts of pressure from marketing teams about digital. Huge. I cannot tell you the amount of pressure. They want to do it, they like it, and then when you're sitting being negative, you are seen actually in the company when you're saying, well, don't do this, be careful about that, watch out about this. They're going, well, hang on a second, maybe you should think about it, And I do worry that, we're falling off the edge of this, whereas there's an opportunity which is fantastic. And I do concern that it's somewhere going to implode in the near future. But something may come good out of it at the end of it.
Fiona?
I would say audit and compliance keep me awake in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Sital?
I sleep very well at night. But, I don't have sleeping problems. But no, what keeps me awake is how we can continue to keep up to speed with all that's changing around us, and how we can get the support from our agency partners to help us in that journey. Because, as you said, constantly there is this expectation from us to do better and to do more and more. And I think with strong, trusted partners, that will get easier. Yeah.
For me, in case anyone cares, it's those fill in your favorite expletive Lumascape charts. It's just looking at that shows you in the old school, back when I had hair, and it used to be easy to, if you had to place a TV spot, there's only, client would call the agency, would call a media house, who would reach a consumer with an ad. The Lumascape chart is a classic example of how complicated the business is, and it just reminds me of how far we have to go, how many things we have to do to keep our house in order, keep our ship kind of sailing in the right direction. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hello, Steve Hyde. The relationship between the clients and agencies has ebbed and flowed a lot. The agencies come under pressure a lot of time, and they're clearly capable of doing a great many wonderful things for clients. They don't always do that, and the circumstances can change. I wonder who's making the clients accountable as supply managers for getting the best out of their agencies. I know some of the best football teams have great players on the field, but it's always the manager that gets sacked when they don't perform. Who's holding the clients accountable?
Who's holding us responsible? Literally, we have 30 seconds left, literally the 10-second answer, 5-second answer.
The marketing team.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my case, my CFO and my marketing team. My CFO is the one who's making sure that we're spending our money wisely. Our marketing team is making sure, almost like, the yin and yang of making sure that our money's flowing in the right direction versus driving our brand and driving consumer engagement. So thank you, everybody. We're around for, if you want to see us around, floating around the room, we're happy to answer other questions. Thank you, panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.